Please welcome the host of the forum, the Vice Chair of APCON, Carly Lim.
Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to have you. And it's such an honor to have you. I want to thank you again, and it's going to be an exciting 2 days. And we're going to have back-to-back events, discussions about what this journey is about. So, well, you've been hearing about B Corp. So B Corp is the company that uses its force for good. And our aspiration is to become the company that's best for the world. So we are competing with each other to become better and excel in the global standard. Right now there's 7 B labs in the world now. And I want to welcome my friends that together in the world we are inspiring, promoting, begging company to go down this path with us and discover the great opportunity and the great impact they can do for people's life. So I want to use this moment, a small video, to introduce my friends from different regions of B-Lab.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna take this time to introduce Shamin onto the stage. And Shamin is from UK B Lab.
I'll give you a hug. Come on. What an introduction.
And Nadia, please. Nadia's from Australia and New Zealand. Thank you. And Marcello, the Dynamite Man from Bira, Europe. Hey, go ahead. And Nenia, please, from Portugal and Lusophone, Africa. And the most powerful, Maria from Systemic Bay. So, I'm gonna try to moderate this group, which doesn't need my moderation at all. They're just gonna shout out whatever we wanted to say about what's going on in our region. So if I could ask Shamin to begin, to give us a briefing about UK and the developments over there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Wow, what an incredible day already. Corey, I have to just thank you and Tammy and all the other people who've been organizing. This has just been really special to be with everyone today, so thank you very much. Hello everyone, I'm Charmian. I speak with a Canadian accent because I'm originally from Canada, but actually I'm based in London, have lived there for about 8 years, and I had the great pleasure of helping usher in the B Corporation movement in London back in September of last year. Just a little bit about B Lab UK. There's a picture of our launch where we had 62 founding UK B Corporations all take the stage. It was a really fun and momentous night for us. It actually was a really awesome party as well, which is one of sort of the principles in which how we operate in the UK, which is obviously we're doing very serious things and talking about how we can help businesses use their force as a force for good, but we want to have a really good time doing it. So this is a photograph of our launch where we had about 300, 400, maybe even 500 people from the UK, as well as some of our global friends, come and join us to sort of mark that really momentous moment. And there's our 62 founding UK B Corporations there on the stage. An important note about the UK is one of the other vibes we really were trying to communicate when we launched is that we really stand on the shoulders of giants. And that the UK has a very rich social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, and impact investing ecosystem. And so we really felt that the time was right for us to introduce the B Corp movement and worked in partnership with a lot of those organizations to make that happen. Very quickly, our community today, so sort of a few months on from when we launched in September, you can see we now actually have 82 certified B Corporations, which is wonderful. So our community continues to grow. We have total revenue amongst that group of £545 million, which is a great number, and that compares against the global B Corporation community, which I think is really important to note, $28 billion in terms of the turnover of all the businesses globally that are a part of this movement. In terms of the number of people we're touching, we're obviously touching everyone who interacts with the products and services of our B Corporation, but also the employees. So another important number that we track in the UK are how many employees of B Corporations in the community. You can see we've now just tapped at 3,100 in total, and again that compares to the over 80,000 around the world who are, again, employees of certified B Corporations. And I just want to leave you on the point that Bart made in his remarks about one of the real hallmarks, I think, of this community is the real diversity of businesses that are a part of this movement. So we're very proud in the UK that within our community we have represented a whole range of companies. Some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are new, some of them are old, and they represent such a wide breadth of different industries. We have healthcare companies, we have education companies, we have consumer products, food businesses, we have professional services companies, we have a law firm, we have banks. It's such a beautiful community that they are all united and all share this one common goal of using business as a force for good. So I would welcome all of you who are interested in the Global B Corp movement to join us, and anyone who's coming to the UK to visit, I hope you'll reach out. We are a global tribe, and I would love to welcome you to our home area of the UK. Thank you.
Great, hi, thank you. I'm Nadia, my hair is different, but it's still me. I am a community builder at B Lab Australia and New Zealand. Basically, I find purpose-driven businesses and encourage them to become B Corps, and I've been involved in the movement for the last 3 years. We started out in Australia as a very organic movement. I worked for the 5th B Corp in Australia, and we have grown that's us to now 107 B Corps as of today in the Australia and New Zealand region, which is amazing growth. We, like Charmian in the UK, we launched in August 2014 with 47 founding B Corporations, and Bart Houlihan, who you saw on video, came out to help us launch as well, which was fantastic. Importantly, we have 3 listed B Corporations, so listed on the Australian and New Zealand Stock Exchange, and some of them are represented here today. And we also have over 1,000 companies in our pipeline doing the assessment, which is really important for us because there are so many businesses in Australia, and we're really excited to help them to measure what matters as well. So we don't expect that all 1,000 will become B Corps. We hope that there will be more growth like that in the future. But as Bart said, the tool is free and confidential, so we encourage everybody to use the tool. And in terms of what we're doing in terms of serving and growing the community, while we do realise that B Corporations is a business-to-business movement, we also realise that for it to be successful, it has to be business to consumers as well. So we run a retail campaign that's called Look Deeper into the Products You Buy, which showcases how you can spend your dollar and how it goes further into our retail products as well, which is our campaign there. We also run masterclasses and lunches, and we also help large multinational organisations that may be on their way to being B Corp certified, but help them to measure, say, the impacts of their social enterprise customers by running them through the impact assessment as well. So that's a picture of that happening there. And likewise, we really find that our B Corps are our greatest ambassadors and our champions in the movement. So we try and, I guess, we hold them up as the pinnacles of good business in Australia and New Zealand. This is Kath from our B Corp in Christchurch in New Zealand. And we ask them to make pledges and to help support the community. So her pledge is to host more B Corp events and spread the word. And we also shine a light on the entrepreneurs in the best in class. So we have our Best for Australia and New Zealand awards, and that's Julie and our Executive Director Alicia. They're receiving an award for being best in Australia. They've got the highest scoring points. So we are excited about more growth. And if you can travel to the UK, hopefully you can travel down to Australia as well. It's not too far. And please come and visit us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Marcello here. Is it on? So it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks to Tommy, to Corey, Tammy, and David for the wonderful welcome. So my story from Europe. I want to start by saying, just show here, the heading at the top shows that actually it's a new class of corporation. We're leading towards the economy of the future, tomorrow's economy, and that's an important point to be added. That I think, in the next 10, 20 years, companies that will not embrace the vision of the B Corps will not be successful. Some of them will basically disappear because the challenges we face with climate, poverty, innovation, need the sort of DNA and culture that we've been promoting within the B Corp. So I see this as the future of business. What we've done in Europe, we started 2 years ago. I co-founded B Lab Europe. We have about 150 B Corps in about 20 countries. The European Union is about 35 countries, so we have a few more countries to go. But it's a mix from, say, the some of social enterprises that the president alluded to, all the way to big companies like Danone, and this Danone Malaysia is here. I want to welcome them. So Danone has agreed to actually start certifying 11 of their subsidiaries as a sort of starting point the first year, with the idea to certify the whole company. We are in conversation with a group called Mondelez, which is a combination of Cadbury and Kraft. They also want to become a B Corp. They're like $35 billion plus. Unilever is also very interested. They own Ben & Jerry, and they would like other companies to become B Corps. So we find that from across the spectrum of business, from the smaller startups, the SMEs, family businesses, all the way to the big multinationals, everyone is converging toward this idea of a B Corp. And the big vision is, as I think Bart said in his video, business is the kind of the engine, is the biggest engine for change in society. This has been my work, for 25 years. I was a young entrepreneur. Then I set up a foundation promoting entrepreneurship for the public good. And in fact, entrepreneurship is now basically the kind of normal mode. Everyone I meet, students, I meet them at Stanford and other business schools, they want to be entrepreneurs. And so whether you're a social entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur, or a cultural entrepreneur, this is the kind of most exciting place to be in the years to come. But then the question is, what kind of entrepreneur? And this is what we say in the B Corp, to put your values and your ethics and your aspirations, the things you care about in life, into your entrepreneurship. And that is a kind of magical solution. If you think about it, there's nothing stronger than combining, your own aspiration, your own ethics with your own entrepreneurial talent. And this is really, as of course the video Steve Jobs said, my favorite line, making a dent in the universe. So these are actually entrepreneurs. They want to make a dent in the universe. Whether it is the next, environmental solution, or the next, product like a Ben & Jerry. So we continue growing B Lab Europe, and it's fantastic to be here in Asia, and we want to sort of create connection between you here and what we do in Europe. Thank you.
Okay, so I also have a Chinese version.
So, 你们好，我叫 Lenia， 我是葡萄牙Vila葡萄牙和非洲的代表，我很高兴接受你们的邀请，谢谢。That was hard. That was hard. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to tell you about Vila Portugal and Lusophone Africa is tell you a little bit about our geography. So we have a set of 6 countries. Portugal, as you can see in the map, you know, this little country in the southwest of Europe. And then we have a set of other 5 countries spread across Africa. So we have Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, and some others. So as you might already know, the Portuguese people like a lot to travel, to know other countries, to visit other countries. So we visited EU in the 16th century. We created a commercial hub here called Formosa, and that's a name that we are still using today to name the island. So we did the same some decades before with these African countries. So we basically discovered them, we populated them, and since then that we have been working with them and influencing their culture, their language, their business, and so on. So there's a strong connection between Portugal and these African countries. So what is important also to bear in mind is that when we are talking about Africa, we are talking about some of the poorest countries in the world. We are talking about countries where a lot of people still live below the poverty line, people that lack infrastructure, sanitation, safe water, and a lot of challenges. So given all these challenges and our common ground with these countries in Africa, it made a lot of sense for us to grow this movement not only in Portugal but also in Lusophone Africa. So we launched our Vila Portugal and Lusophone Africa last year, and since then we have been working in several different fronts in order to grow our movement. So we started working in the legal front, so we worked with the Portuguese lawyers in order to define this legal amendment for B Corps that is already defined, and now we are taking the very first steps in order to create a benefit corporation legislation also in Portugal. We worked a lot in terms of awareness because it's very important that all the businesses know about B Corps. So we established a lot of partnerships with business hubs like business associations, co-working spaces, startup hubs, and so on, so everybody can know about B Corps. We worked a lot with academia. You know that millennials are completely eager to know more about the B Corp movement. They are eager to be in the center of this impact economy. So there are a lot of things, a lot of activities that we are doing with universities, and there are a lot more that we can still do. And a 4th dimension, I would say, that is government. So we have been working with government in order to establish these Measure What Matters programs. And the good news is that in a couple of weeks we will be launching a Best For campaign in one region in Portugal. So the Best For campaign is like the Best For New York program. I don't know if you know it, but it's basically a partnership that Bilab does with the municipality, and the municipality can invite all the companies in its region to measure what matters, to help the municipality solving the main social and environmental problems of that region, and to help the municipality increasing the quality of life of all these people. So are doing this in Portugal, and I think this is quite important because when the government understands and recognizes what our movement is standing for, you know, this is a powerful message for businesses, for consumers, and for the entire society. So let me just give you a sneak peek of who we are in Portugal. So we have a small but vibrant community of 6 companies. So the first one is Skillet. Skillet is our first pending B Corp. So the B Lab created this status of pending B Corps for startups, for companies that have less than 12 months. So they can do the legal amendment before they get the pending B Corp status, and after these 12 months they go through the full BIA and they got certified. We have companies like Colorado that have a unique impact business model. Colorado is a company that developed an identification color system for colorblind people. As you can see in their logo, they have these little sticks and triangles. So if you put this, imagine in labels on clothes, if you use it in transport, so that colorblind people can recognize the right color of the subway line and so on. It's applicable to so many industries where color is a major factor of a major information for the decision-making process. And then, a bit in the opposite side, we have companies like Abreu Advogados. So Abreu Advogados is a law firm. It's a very conservative and traditional law firm, and I think that they for me are kind of a very nice case study, because they accepted the challenge of going through the BIA, and they were very conservative, but at the same time they were always challenging every step. So they decided to redefine their mission. They decided to publish a report disclosing a lot of information about their business, what is not typical at all for a law firm. And by the end of the process, they got certified. And the magic was that at the beginning they were saying like, oh, this is a cutting edge movement. I don't think I can fit on it. So maybe it is also risky for a firm like us. But then when they went throughout the process, I think they were seeing their values, because they are a family business. So they are recognizing their values on all the questions throughout the assessment. So by the end, they were just very proud of becoming a B Corp. And now, they are giving interviews to a lot of people. They are running executive breakfasts at their company to talk about B Corps. And that's, as they said, if a firm like Abreu Advogados can become a B Corp, so everybody can. So this is the challenge for you. So that's a little bit of the work that we are doing in Portugal. We are starting with the first steps and the first formal partnerships now in Africa. But well, I will stop here. I will be glad to let you know more about our market, and I will be very glad to know about all the Asian B Corps that are here and introduce you to our B Corp. So, xie.
Thank you.
So good morning. I want to start by thanking very much the invitation to be here, Tammy and Corey. This is very exciting for me to be in Taiwan. And I come from Latin America. Our organization is called Sistema B. It's called System B. And we think that it is a learning by doing small organization that is working with many, bringing this idea of B Corps, which we think are an extraordinary entry point for systemic change. So we see B Corps as businesses that are able to replace their DNA from just focusing on profits to focusing on purpose and developing their business model and their management practices according to the highest standards. Sistema B, we work with a systemic perspective. We think, and our vision is, to change the economy. We dream of an economy where well-being of people and planet is the measure of success. So we find that redefining success in the economy is at the center of what we do. And we want to achieve this new vision of an economy that is a low-carbon, more inclusive economy, working with 6 communities: B Corps, investors, politicians and public policy makers, opinion leaders, academia, and large market actors. We work through communities of practice to scale our impact without scaling our organization. So we started working with this systemic perspective in 2012, working with 6 different communities in every country. We started in Chile, Colombia, Argentina, and Brazil. That was May 2012. And he also started creating communities of practice of people who were interested in academic research, in legal issues, in market issues, working amongst different peoples in different countries. And today, we are present in 10 countries in Latin America. And we are very happy to be here today, being part of this extraordinary global movement. So again, xie. That's my only Chinese word to xie. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I'll share a little bit about Asia. So, thank you. So for our region, we got 6 countries that's in this movement right now. So we have Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, India, and Mongolia. So it's quite amazing that in Asia it's been a great reach in the past. And this movement of company that's becoming a B Corp started in 2012. And I think there's always been leaders in the market, but we haven't got a chance to get together. So this is the first time that 20 over 5 of us is trying to connect. So it's like other regions in the world that we have very different businesses, different diversities, different thoughts, and different language. So that is actually one of the most, I say, challenging or interesting part of development in Asia, that our languages are all vary, and that language represents different cultures. And even we have the same language, the cultures are still different. So we're hoping from this that we can see a lot of different innovations and creativity and entrepreneurship from this. So that's the kind of nutshell about Asia. Thank you. I don't think I'm gonna get a clap from saying xie, but it's okay. All right. So right now globally, it's 1,600 B Corps from 40,000 that applied, and it's across 44 countries. And it's there's a fundamental structure of these companies, of things that we need to go through as a B Corp, which is a painstaking process. I'm gonna go down before I go up. Okay. So it's painstaking, and you gotta involve a lot of people, and you gotta think about, well, what am I gonna do with this question? Am I doing it now? Am I gonna have it in the future? And how come I never thought about this? So a process like that, it's very rigorous, and it strikes a lot of conversations among the organization, and we start even. Besides our own organization, we start reaching out to the supporting businesses. So we go out and talk to lawyers. Well, what do you think about this one? Right? Accountants, strategy advisors, and governments. Well, for these questions, what do they represent? So he actually started giving us a lot of understanding about what we are doing in relationship to the society. It's a little different from before that when we were trying to start a business. We found something that this is what we wanted to do, and we want to sell it. But before we're going to do that, we're thinking about what we are connecting with a lot of people, so we're getting a lot of feedbacks. So I would like to introduce this process, and then we're gonna talk about it a little bit in our own region. So this is the BIA process, which starts from the governance to employee to community to environment. So these are the basic 4 pillars of what we're looking when we're operating as a business. But from, I think you can say it's a limitation or boundaries of a business. In between that, yeah, it's actually the most exciting thing about innovation, which is impact business models. So it gives us the, as an entrepreneur, challenge, a goal that we want to outthink. We want to come up with something new, and we want to influence. So in among these four things, in the middle of it is the impact business model. So I'm gonna have each one of us to share a little bit about how our point of view in either each of them or in your particular region. So please come in.
Okay. I think I'm talking about employees. Is that right? Okay, excellent. Well, it's one of my favorites because actually I came to the B Corp movement as an entrepreneur. I had started a business and we were the second organization in the UK to certify as a B Corporation. And one of the things that was really important to me in going through that process was finding a way to make sure that our company was treating our employees as highly and treating them as valuably as we knew they were to our organization. So when we went through the assessment, we spent a lot of time using the questions that they ask in terms of measuring how you engage with your employees quite seriously as a roadmap. And we actually on the back of it developed an employee handbook that we have since circulated and let other organizations learn from. Some of the questions that are covered off in this employee section or the section about the workers I think are really important about the sorts of ways in which businesses treat the people that help those businesses succeed. Those are things like how are those employees treated from the benefit perspective, what sort of ways in which the company itself helping support those employees, both in their operations of what they do with their job, but also outside of their job. We also saw that there's a lot of really fascinating and important questions about job growth and development. So how are those employees able to take the role they're in currently, but also see a future and engage more directly with the company in terms of where their growth might be. It's also about the creation of jobs. So these are all just sort of some of the questions you'll find in this part of the B Impact Assessment. In addition to my experience as an entrepreneur, I guess what I've been really, really happy to see in our UK region is the real creativity of some of our B Corps that have gone above and beyond, using the assessment as almost a catalyst to start thinking about what are the ways in which they can truly sort of engage their people and help them have really, really positive experiences in the workplace. And I guess I'd just single out one particular B Corp in our area called Cook. It's a wonderful frozen food, vertically integrated frozen food company. And they have amazing programs that they offer for their people. One of them includes the creation of this Dream Academy. And this is this whole way in which any employee in this company is encouraged to have dreams. And the company itself will try and find ways of taking those very sort of clearly articulated dreams and helping them come true. And again, this is just an example of a company that really is valuing its people very deeply and wants to do what they can to make those employees, those workers, as valued and as happy in their workplace as possible. Thank you.
I think I'm talking about the environment, and maybe if you don't mind, I'm a bit of a standards nerd, so I might take a little step back to just let you know that when you do the B Impact Assessment, you need a certain number of points, 80 points out of 200, and you can get them in any of those 4 areas as well, so you don't have to score a minimum amount of points in any of the areas. I think the beauty of the standard is that it actually is tailored to your organisation. It's actually 152 different versions, not counting I think when it's going to be translated into Chinese. But the standard is dynamic, and so the points allocated will depend on your type of organisation. So particularly when it comes to environment, there are different questions if you're a service-based organisation or if you're a manufacturing organisation and you have facilities. But the main key areas of the environment section include your land and your office area and your plant. So basically your environmental footprint of your operations, whether it's an office or it's a factory or a distribution or a warehouse. This sort of looks at your footprint and tries to understand whether you're tracking and measuring your environmental impact. It also looks at your inputs into your business. So when you are a service-based organisation, they might be quite small, so electricity and a bit of water. When you're a manufacturing organisation, you might use raw materials or chemicals, and it sort of looks at if you generate energy on site, for example. Your outputs are also considered, so thinking about your greenhouse gas emissions from your organisation's operations, and your waste, so the waste that you might create, hazardous waste, because let's face it, every organisation, no matter how big or small, has an environmental impact, and it's usually negative. And then finally your transport, your supply and your distribution and logistics. So thinking about your supply chain is also encouraged in the impact assessment as well. So trying to understand the outputs of your suppliers, whether your suppliers are measuring their energy, water and waste usage. There are a number of points allocated to all of these areas. And I think the main purpose of the standard is to differentiate between good practice, better practice and best practice. So it's really important that I guess there are different levels of achievement through each of the questions in the standard. And I guess why this is important, I think, is, as I said before, every organisation has an environmental impact, but I think there's actually an economic imperative to looking at your environmental impact. We are now using 1.5 of the resources of 1.5 planets across the globe. So we're using resources at a much faster rate than we can actually replace them. These resources are being used up. They will get more expensive as we demand more and more. So managing your risk and managing your resource use is really important, and it also makes business sense. I think in terms of, I guess, case studies and organisations that I admire, there are some that are very good operationally, and then there are some that I think Lenia will speak about later, which have excellent environmental impact business models. So organisations like DOMI, for example, and an organisation in Australia called Energy for the People are creating solutions for solar energy and energy efficient home products, smart metering for energy use. When it comes to operations, we've got some amazing retail brands and some brands that you may have heard of, like The Honest Company. They have 100% renewable energy in their operations. In fact, all of their revenues come from products that are less toxic than all other market alternatives. So they're providing a different way of doing business and of cleaning your home, of sort of creating, looking after your hygiene. It's less toxic than any other product in the market. And there are also organisations like Patagonia, which you may hear from later. They are using environmentally sourced materials, and they have amazing, I guess, initiatives that give back to environmental organisations like the 1% for the Planet. So there are many, I could go on, but I won't take up more time, but there are absolutely a huge amount of organisations measuring and monitoring and trying to improve their environmental impact through using the standard.
Thank you. So about governance, in a way, governance is the starting point. It's about starting point of an organization. I think the key questions are about intentionality, ownership, organizational structure, how people make decisions in a company, questions of disclosure, ethics, taxation. There's a lot of issues that come under governance. I think what is important to say is that there is a very wide spectrum of, say, governance models represented within the global community of the 1,659 B Corps. And it goes from, and so there's no prescriptive model where we say, hey, you have to be like this to qualify. No. We have examples like Patagonia is still a company owned by one man. And we have Triodos Bank, which is a major ethical bank in Europe, that is actually owned by all the co-workers. So it can range from a single ownership to a widely owned organization, more like a cooperative. So they both fit the idea, provided that the other dimensions of ethics, integrity, intentionality, so what is the purpose of the company, all subscribe to this vision of a B Corp. Second issue that's important is the range is from a startup, from a company of, say, young people in their 20s who are still kind of formulating their views of the world and their views of the world through their company, all the way to a company like Danone, which is 104 years old, which has already had many cycles of questioning themselves about what are they here to do and what is their purpose. So there is also that kind of range from new companies and old companies. And they are all welcome within the B Corp community, and they're all welcome to express their own ways of what it means to be well-governed. Third issue is basically some of the questions that are coming up now. So a new question is about taxation. in many countries, tax is an issue, and business people, of course, they want to be smart, so they try not to pay too much tax. But that is also part of accommodating the wide spectrum of companies. And sometimes it's an issue. Some companies go all the way to try and avoid paying any tax. So we are dealing with this kind of issue, taxation. And maybe finally, the wider question is about trust. And as some of you know, the trust that societies have in business has been declining over the years. And we think that, in fact, there's a big contribution of the B Corps. It actually to show that through the impact assessment and through questions like really deeply looking at your own governance, you actually rebuild the trust that business has in society. So it has a big place in the wider story of B Corps. And maybe the final point I'm thinking now, it's about also, because sometimes we think of governance as, hey, the president sits up here and he leads the organization and that's about governance. But actually the governance is much more about throughout the organization. How do you actually engage everyone in making decisions, in taking responsibility for the future of the enterprise? So that's also something that we test in the assessment. And part, not only governance, but part of the whole BIA includes, say, there's an open space for ideas, for practices that companies are doing of their own accord. So all companies are welcome to share any new things they do, and they also get, they're kind of looked at as part of the assessment. So there is a kind of that freedom of adding your own contribution. Thank you.
Okay, so before going to the impact business model, just a couple of notes about the BIA. So first of all, as Bart said, the BIA is like a do-it-yourself consulting tool. So even if you don't want to become a B Corp, you can use it. You can diagnose your company, you can learn more about other companies, you have best practices in almost every company, in every question in the assessment, you have benchmarks, so it's really useful for a company that wants to learn and improve as a business. The second thing is that we really need standards. So we have been listening to all these words like green and eco and sustainable and social business and social enterprise and 20 more other words. But in fact, these words are becoming, they are becoming to have no meaning at all. So we need some kind of tool like the B Impact Assessment in order to really evaluate companies and really compare these companies with each other. And the third point is that the B Impact Assessment, the standards, they are working not only for companies, but also for us. So it's very important for us as consumers to know more about the products that we are buying. It's very important also for investors, so they can better recognize this kind of class of assets. And it's also important for the government because through the standards they can recognize the change makers, the leaders, the company leaders in their specific regions. So speaking about the impact business model, this section of the BIA is meant to recognize companies that are solving a social or environmental problem through a for-profit business model. So you can have your business model or your impact business model focused on several different things. You can have it focused on your workers. Imagine if you, for instance, have an ownership structure that guarantees a significant part of equity to your employees. You can have an IBA focused on community. Imagine if you are a company that focuses on supporting or leveraging local communities. You can be a company that is creating high opportunity in terms of jobs for people with disabilities, people from marginalized communities. In fact, yesterday I met two companies from Singapore that are doing exactly that. I think it's Barista Coffee Bar and Gennesting, something like that.
So it's great to see these kind of business models also here in Asia. And we can have other things, other models, like for instance a company that commits to donate a percentage of sales or profits. Then you can have impact business models focused on environment. Well, Maria Emilia co-founded a a great company called 3 Ciclos that does that. They basically collect more than 20 different materials to recycle in places where this kind of infrastructure didn't exist. And you can also have impact business models focused on your customers. So if you are, for instance, providing access to a product or service that a certain target of the population didn't have access to, or if you are a company like, for instance, Colored that I just presented, or in case you are creating access to great economic opportunities for the underserved, like for instance microcredit or the microinsurance models. So there's a lot of ways that you can use to solve social and environmental problems through business. And in fact, this IBM section in the new version of the BIA that was recently launched in January, it's like integrated in all the other areas that we just spoke about. So basically we have in the environmental section, you have questions about the IBM regarding environment. On the workers section, it happens the same. And then you have the fifth dimension called customers. And there you can check the impact business models that are specifically focused to customers.
Thank you.
So, you know, I worked for almost 30 years in sustainability in large corporations. So when we created 3 Ciclos, the company that was just mentioned, we thought we knew it all. And it was a fascinating surprise to use the B impact assessment because it helped us with 2 wonderful things. One is to take a look at our whole company. We used to have like an organic certification or FSC certification that would show us a little bit of our business. The B impact assessment showed us the whole of the company, which was very useful. The other thing was that, as Marcelo mentioned, because it is not prescriptive, it asks you questions, are you doing this, are you doing that? And if you're not doing it, it doesn't take, let's say, points off from you, but you get extra points if you are doing something, which is very useful because we realized when taking the assessment that although we had all this theory, in practice we needed to be more systematic, we needed to be more consistent with what we were doing. So the B impact assessment, first and foremost, I think is an extraordinary tool for people in business to look at the whole of the company and to decide what is it that you want to do in the future in order to improve on your social and environmental impact. The other thing that was, I think that is an extraordinary idea here is something we in business need a lot of help with, which is the fact that we need to start thinking about creating positive impact. We are very much used to reducing negative impact, so we make a great effort to reduce water consumption, to reduce energy consumption, to reduce the accidents in the plants, which is necessary and fundamental. But the world really needs business to go one step further and not only do less harm, but actually solve the problems that the world faces. So the B impact assessment and the whole B core idea helps us in business define the way that each of us wants to create positive impacts, whether on our employees, on the environment, or in the communities and people organizations that we relate with during the course of business. That's what we call the community side of the assessment. the relationships that we establish with customers and with communities outside of the business. So I think that for us, that was one of the most extraordinary learnings in using the B Impact Assessment to help us understand how we wanted to design our roadmap to actually have a positive impact outside of the company. And that was an incredible mind-changing tool for us in Triciclo. So I can only suggest to everyone to try the B Impact Assessment. It is free. You can download it from the website. Any organization can take the assessment. And it is, even if you don't want to certify it, it is a wonderful tool to take a look at the whole of your company and decide how you want to work on the future to create positive impact for those around you and everyone in the commercial relationships that you establish. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to add a few points in terms of the BIA. I think for us as a startup, for Domi as a startup, that we're always trying to learn who we are. I mean, there's something that we wanted to do, but we want to know who we are, how we are in relationship to the world. So when we go through this process, Domi is an environmental-driven business. But when we go through this process, it turns out for us that our community scores is actually higher than environment. And that's kind of mind-boggling for us. We started to have discussions internally. Well, why is that? And the answer that we came up with is that what we're doing is actually directly connected to people. And that inspires us on the new strategies when we approach into energy use, carbon emissions, lighting, things like that. That we started to adopt another approach. And so I think for that process for us it's a discovery of who we are. And we continue to grow that way, and we're so happy growing that way. That we couldn't envision that we're going to be environmental guys. But we really love to be the environmental social people, okay? That we get to still hang out in the parties. Okay. So I think that's our take when we got involved with going through the BIA process. And I like to take this moment to if you guys don't mind sharing that what would you envision for the future? After you've been going through this journey of B Corp, what would you envision in the future, in your region or around the world? Please, Maria?
That's a big question, no? You're getting us to think existentially here. Well, I think that I personally think that economy is defining much of the way we live around the world. So I think that my vision and my dream is that in few years' time, we all live in economies where the well-being of people and planet is the measure of success. Where success is not just creation of wealth, but is the well-being of people and planet around the creation of wealth. And the creation of wealth is a tool for well-being of people and planet.
Thank you.
Well, I'm inspired by all of you, that you are all great change makers and that you are doing a great work here, in the opposite side of the world. So I just hope that I can find everyday change makers like you to solve any social and environmental problem that we can find. So thank you to you all to do your work and to be like this and to celebrate and to have all this energy to bring all these people here together to celebrate B Corp Asia.
Well, I wanted to share two things. One is actually a question that I often get asked, is that where is Asia in terms of the B Corp movement? Because Asia is, you are the most populous and the continent in the world with the highest potential if we look forward in the next 20, 30, 50 years. So people are waiting and looking for Asia to also embrace this B Corp. So this is a kind of a big support from myself and Europe, and I think from the whole B Corp community to work with you in the next step. The second thing I want to say is that I really love this quote by Steve Jobs, making a dent in the universe. So my version of the positive impact is making a dent in the universe. And that I think goes with human creativity. Human creativity is ultimately the most wonderful talent we have as a human species. And I think the B Corps help to unleash that kind of human creativity, because the culture of these companies is such that you want to have the whole person involved, engage the whole individual and engage the best of his or her human creativity. So this is, I think, a wonderful kind of boundaryless, limitless potential for the future to actually use this human creativity for the challenges and the opportunities that we face.
Thank you.
Well, I have, I guess, two things. I think while the B Impact Assessment and the B Corp movement was initially developed for small and medium enterprises, I think there's been so much more focus now from multinational corporations, and I think that it's time for big business to harness this power and to make a change. So I'd like to see many more big businesses become B corporations. And following on from that, and hopefully it's only a few years away, but following on from that, I'd like to see B Corps become the default. So the default legal model when you're setting up an organisation, I don't think we should even have B Corps anymore. I think it just should be the way that business is done, because we need to be ensuring that we are focusing on our environmental and social impact, that we're protecting ourselves from the, what the risks are that we might face in the future. And while I'm so honoured to be here today on this stage, hopefully in the future we may not need B Corp conferences like this, because it's just the way that business is done. I think we'll still need them for a few years, but the work that Corey and Tammy and everyone here in Taiwan and broader Asia are doing means that hopefully this will become just the way of doing business. So I look forward to that.
Thank you.
It's always hard to go at the end of such compelling visions of the future. So I almost want to say everything that has already come before. I actually would want to pick up on one of the points that we've already come out a few times in these conversations. It's about systems change. We are talking about a change in how our systems, how our markets, how our economies actually operate. And I think B Corp is a really important element of that change, and it's a manifestation in which businesses can be a part of it, a very proactive and energetic force of it. But I think in the future, what I'd like to see are a whole range of other really important stakeholders coming on board, so that we can all do this in sync with one another. So be lawyers, be investors, be accountants. All the different sort of industries that are around this private sector, around sort of the market, are actually all engaged, and we're all sort of climbing up this mountain together. This mountain, which is very steep, and it's a very tall mountain, but that mountain is sort of a reinvention of what our society conceives of as the role of business and the role of our market. So my hope for the future is we will be getting up that mountain faster, and we'll be doing it with businesses, with policymakers, with investors and accountants, and all those other wonderful people that will be a part of that journey.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna go last. I should have gone this way. Okay. Well, I think for Asia constitutes 60% of the population in the world, and we constitute about 65% of the extreme poverty in the world, and our carbon emission constitutes 45% of the world. So I think Asia does have a very strong duty and a very interesting way that we have to work together, because Asia is kind of spread apart by oceans, by different things. So that actually kind of demand us to work as a group internationally with internet and everything. But that's kind of how I see it. That with the technology that's there right now, that we can interact with each other, with the system maps that we build up, that we can ask questions from each other and learn from each other. So I think very quickly Asia is going to build up, and then my vision is that we see the impacts, and we can share the stories with each other, so that we can solve these problems. And like Marcello said, Steve Jobs put a dent in the universe, So it's our job to do it the other way around. Okay, so I'd like to thank the panel for your wonderful sharing. And the guys are gonna be around this 2 days, so I mean, they're very, I'm gonna say in your behalf that we are very happy to talk with you, to interact with you about the things that we can do together, we can help each other. And I just want to take this last moment to thank you guys.
Thank you.